Oh my goodness, let's see if I can get this to work. I felt like I was gonna sneeze, so I thought I might be a little late on the thing today. Hi. Hi. Um I'm just gonna do a very chill weaving today because I'm still getting over the cold that I had that knocked me off of my stream last week, where I started coughing and I couldn't stop. That was super fun. Um, but I'm better, and I went out this weekend and hung out around people, so that was a nice change of pace. And so I had Spinning Guild this past weekend, and there I did some demoing. So got to teach some new skills to people, which was really great. And so this is going to be just kind of chill and showing you a little bit of what I meant to show last week on this particular bracelet. So I have done some work on these. This one I finished, or as finished as it can be. It's still on my loom, obviously, but I went ahead and I did my sumac up here and did some weaving with some waist, and so my bracelet is pretty much done. The way I usually do it on this particular loom, this is my Myricks loom, is I warp it, and I keep it a pretty long warp with my warp strings here. And then what I'll do is once I finish these, I'll advance my warp and I'll move these down so they start going down behind my bar down here. This is my warping bar. So I'll move this up and then my bracelets will advance down. And then what will happen is it'll give me more real estate up here to do another set of bracelets. So that's how I warp this particular loom because it is so very tall. You can't really see it on this particular camera here, but as you can see, it's tall, and I can do this either with the foot extended, so I can do it standing up, but I found that having it on camera sitting down like this and just being propped up by these, which these wooden blocks hold the warping bar when I'm warping the loom, and then it kind of acts as a little stand, which is nice. So this was the bracelet that I was working on the week before last, and I was going to try and show you something that was similar to the one, this bracelet that I had made, which is, it is plain weave, and then I sort of do a stair step down in the amount of warp threads that I use, and then I just weave behind it with a different color. In this case, I used white here. And I don't even know if this is long enough for a bracelet, but it was just something I was playing around with. And then I threw off to the side in a little, I have lots of little bowls and baskets and things, and was just sitting there for a while. But like, something about this I really like, and I think it's because it feels like it has a lot of depth to it. I know it doesn't look like much right now because it's not finished, but if you were wearing this as a bracelet, it does like pop up closer to you instead of being flat like this particular piece. This piece will be completely flat on your wrist. So I started doing that with this one, and I figured I'd play around a little bit with some different techniques. So what I've done here is I warped the center, or I'm sorry, I did the weft in the center over all of the strings. So here I have 6 warp strings. It's really 12, but they're doubled because I used beading thread. And so this was done flat, and then what I did was I then omitted one on each side and then just wove over 4 warp strings, and then down here I did over 2. And so prior to my signing on today, I wove the back of this, and then what I started to do was kind of like, I didn't necessarily want it to be like straight, I guess. So I started trying to cinch it in a little bit. It does bow out a little bit here, but then what I did was when I got to this particular point, when I was at the end of the the plain weave on the two, I decided to do something, and it's going to be a little bit hard to see with the black, but remember those bracelets that we used to make when we were kids, where you would do the knots, right? So what I did here was I would put one of the threads down alongside my warp here, and then I do that thing that we did when we were kids when we made those embroidery floss bracelets, and I would do, what is it, 2 half hitches. There's one, there's 2 around the warp strings and the other piece. So when I started this here, I had one piece of black, and I went ahead and added the second piece, and then just started doing it like I would an embroidery thread bracelet. So that's what I was doing there. So right now notice I have a lot of threads here. It's kind of crazy. So many threads on the back of this. But I have this black yarn here. Sorry about my dogs. And right now what I'm doing is, because I've pulled these warp strings in, you might not be able to see them as clear, but I've pulled it such that the second and what would that be, 5th warp strings are like almost like curled underneath this particular piece here where I wove with 2. So in order to see this kind of flat, I'm just going around and I'm weaving under this first piece, and then I'm going to go over the 2 warp threads that are sitting behind here, behind this piece here. And I'm going to keep this obviously on the top. So when I weave, think of it as just as if you were weaving a plain piece, and pretend that doesn't even exist. Just keep it on top, sitting on top of your stuff. So I'm doing under, over, and then under this piece, over that string, and then under the one on the end, and pull it through. So, and then we're going to go over, under, over. And the one thing that might be a little bit of a pain in the butt when it comes to this sort of thing is that sometimes the strings that you have hanging off the back will get stuck. So you want to make sure that you keep that behind there. And just be aware of where your strings are. And so then what I'll do with this is I'll keep doing this until I get to the end of this piece here. And, you know, on occasion I get my little thread stuck. I can just pull it out and like pop it behind or whatever. You know, just keep an eye on it so you're not catching it. You will have to weave it in when you're done. That's easy enough with these pieces. So let me do this. And then I wanted to say, so I had Spinning Guild this weekend, and I had done some demoing of support spindling, which is something I haven't quite figured out how I can do on this feed yet, because of the way my camera is. I would have to do some adjustments. I'm not entirely sure how to set that up just yet, but I'll figure it out. So I did some support spindling, and I did lucet cord making, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then I did some pin loom weaving, which I've already done in past videos, but It's the one thing that I at some point like to be able to teach at the guild. Um, the pin loom weaving, different styles, doing the different patterns and whatnot. So I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to do that. But for now, I just need to make things. So, of course, in my infinite wisdom, uh, am working on black. So, hopefully, it translates over. All this thing says the chat's not working again. We'll see if we can get that to work in a minute. I'll do that kind of off on the side. So I have a house full of activity right now, so in case you hear things in the background, that's what that is. Okay. This is interesting. Use your passkey. Sure, whatever. Sometimes this wants to sign into my chat, and other times it doesn't, and I haven't quite figured out why it does that. In case anybody's wondering, I'm using Streamlabs to do my streams, and sometimes it just doesn't want to work. Also, half the time doesn't even want to close. So, that's weird and fun. Okay, here I'm almost towards the end here. Let's see if this thing sent me a passkey, and then I'll be able to figure out what's going on. But yeah, so I had a cold that I caught from my kid during spring break, which is like the worst. And then it turned into like a sinus infection. So I'm still getting over a little bit of a cough, but I feel better. I just sound not great. There we go. That looks like it's pretty darn close to the edge there. So let's see. It says I'm live. That helps me not. What is my passkey? Okay. So what I need here is I made these really long. Maybe I could use one of these. I'm gonna cut these off. Here. So I cut a little bit of the tails off because I had really long tails for this particular piece down here. Oh, thanks, Nicole. See, now I see this. I don't know, man. I just think that this particular program I'm using is a little finicky. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this second piece in here. Ooh, how do I want to do this? So many needles over here. I've got like a magnetic disc, and that's very helpful for keeping my needles on track. Okay, so I've gotten to the end here, and this is where I'm going to start cinching everything together. Now, this isn't like warped so tight that I'm going to snap anything if I start doing this. So, I mean, it's warped, it's tight. It'll keep its shape if I need it to, but I still have a little bit of give. I have a little wiggle room. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take this and I am gonna go through this way. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of a tail. Like that. We're gonna hope that decides to stay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have that go like this. I'm gonna do this backwards now because I was doing it towards me. Or you know what? Here, let's do this. I'm gonna turn it around so it's closer to me. That'll be easier. It's like, smack your camera. That's what we do. Okay. So I've turned it around a little bit, and maybe what I'll do is I'll pop this way. Pop this way so it's laying flat. Okay, so I'm completely flat. I moved the little wooden blocks that you saw earlier. I moved those. So I'm going to put that in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end, take this needle off. And it's just, like I said, just like making those bracelets that we made when we were kids. It's so stinking easy. It's like almost ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is go around all of the threads, and it's a little bit hard to start up because your warp threads are kind of separated, right? So I'm going to go like that. There's one, and then we're going to do two. Now there's two different ways to do this. The way that I'm doing it is I'm holding, my kids just left, sorry. I'm holding the other thread that I stuck in there inside the knots that I'm making. A different way you could do it is you could keep it sitting on the outside, and then you'll get kind of like these loopy bits. It'll be more prominent than the loops that you kind of see on the side. See how it has kind of like a ruffly, bumpy sort of texture here? If you keep those loops on the outside, it'll be even more ruffly. So it'll look like it's got a little bit of a lacy type texture. Okay, so now we're going to hold that one in. We're going to do the opposite side. You can pull pretty tight. Like I said, you don't care if your warp threads go together. That's the point. And it's like, oh, I remember making these when I was in junior high. All those little knotted bracelets out of embroidery floss. And like the cool thing about these too, if let's say you're not somebody who is able to or likes to spin lace weight yarn. Some people really love it. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy doing small bits, you know, so I'll be walking around with like little balls like this, right? From spinning on my my Turkish spindles. But let's see here. If you're not into that, there's no reason why you can't weave using embroidery floss or pearl cotton. I think my husband's trying to schedule.
You know what? I'm gonna have family in town. Let me check with my wife to find out when everybody's gonna be here, and then I'll call you guys back to schedule. How about that? All right, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay. I heard him and I'm making a mental note. Okay. There we go. So you just keep doing this all for as long as you want to do it. There are different ways you can make a bracelet, and you know, like obviously I make bracelets to sell, and sometimes it's difficult, especially because the new findings that I got, it's like you want to make sure that you are getting a bracelet that's going to fit fairly, I don't want to say tight, but you want something that's going to be pretty, close to your skin, right? So, but I'm no longer using these findings at the end because I've had some problems with them. So, the new findings I have are actually slider bars, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult to make a bracelet that's going to be, it's not adjustable. So you have to find one that fits your particular wrist. Um, However, with that being said, um, I haven't, with these particular ones, I haven't even gotten findings for them yet. So it's going to be kind of like I'm making it and then I'm going to go ahead and see what I can find. And they might have a little bit more versatility, I guess, when it comes to size because you can add something like a chain on it. Whereas, like this one has a chain on it, but like I said, I'm not using these findings anymore. Um, the findings that I am using look more like, let's see, I'm gonna pull more of these out. I have different sizes, like widths. They look, oh, made in China. Oh, that might be a problem for me coming up. I haven't tried to get these in a while, since before the election, or before the tariffs. So this is what they look like now, and they slide out like this. So, I mean, there's a level of skill involved in making sure you fold over and you tuck everything in and you make sure that it's adequately secured, but you don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to size. So, like people with larger wrists or things like that, I also make customs just in case anybody. And when I say custom, I mean I can approximate colors, but because I use a lot of hand spun, every piece is going to be like a one of one, which is how I prefer it. I don't want to make a lot of I'm not a factory. I do need things that are going to keep me engaged, and I find that one of the things that does keep me engaged is not recreating stuff. I can recreate a type of style like I'm doing with this particular one, where I'm doing the same thing that I did with this thing that I was playing with, right? Oh, that's like all of a sudden really blurry. But let's see here. So that's what it looks like right now. Also, too, it was totally like ADD moment, but I don't know if you can see it. I also took some silver embroidery floss, like one strand of it. You can usually separate the metallic floss. And, ooh, whoops. So here's the floss. I used one strand of it, and I just did a running stitch through the center. I just felt like it. So yeah, but so like for customs and things like that, I'm able to get colors roughly down, but and certain styles kind of, but not everything is going to be like the exact same as one you've seen before or whatever, because they're all one of one. So and I prefer to do it that way. But yeah, so I'm hoping to make a range of sizes of these, and I might be doing a show in December. We'll see how things turn out, like life and stuff. Um, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so then what I would do is I take my handy dandy seam allowance. What would you call this? Seam allowance guide for sewing, and I could measure exactly. It's kind of like having a caliper, I suppose. I could measure exactly how long I made that. So like, let's say I made that end just slightly longer than 1.5 inches. And then I can come to this side and be like, oh, I could do like a few more knots. So this is kind of a good thing to have. I'm sure you can get it cheap. If you go to Joann's, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been to Joann's since, well, it's been over a month for sure. But I don't know how wiped out their selection of sewing tools and stuff is. I keep getting emails saying that they're restocking. But you can get them online too. It's not. You can get them online too. It's not. They're not hard to find. Anybody who sews probably has one. I don't know. Maybe Nicole. Maybe you can tell me if those are even big in like the quilting community. I don't know quilts that well. So yeah, so you can keep doing this. Also, too, I had some other ones here that I was just like farting around with. That whatchamacallit? I was like, well, how did I do this? So I think I showed you guys maybe more than a week ago. Like I just like doing random things and having different shapes and stuff. I actually prefer doing a lot of this stuff to the flat ones, but the flat ones look really nice and they look like this one's a little bit more like maybe my kid did this, and then the flat ones are like more professional. But I was trying to see, these are attached to each other. I didn't even finish this one, but I was trying to see how I was wrapping these. So like it looks like I did some like flat weaving over how many threads is this? Like 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 6. So I did some flat weaving, and then on each side of it, I did that wrapping very, very precisely, like I do. Oh yes, thank you, Nicole. I did the wrapping like I did for the rope that I did. This stuff. Just I did it very precise, so it's all very like even and next to each other, and that with the string, it and the cotton seine twine for warp, it stays really well. So like this is kind of fun, and then I've got this weird woven piece that looks like it's woven in a circle. So nobody has to remember what I showed 2 weeks ago. That's fine. I may repeat myself. Like I put some weird silk threads and stuff in here, and like this was like twine that had metallic thread running through it. It's I don't know. So like I have a bunch of this kind of stuff just laying around. Like what was I planning on doing with this? I don't even remember. So anywho, so using my handy dandy thing, I'm right about there. So I can say that this one is done, and I'm just gonna leave it like this, and then I'm gonna advance my loom. So let me move my blocky doos up here, back up, and then I am going to advance my loom. So this part can get a little hairy. I get a little nervous when I do it because one of the features of these Merrick's looms, let me see if I can get it to recalibrate. Yes, no? Oh. Okay. So making a bracelet that maybe has more texture to it. Yes, you can get your texture with different types of yarn. I have a little bit here. You can't really tell because they're fairly close to each other in size. Like I went from using fingering or sock weight yarn to using lace weight yarn, and you can see a little bit of a difference in what the texture is. But let's say you want a lot of texture. Okay, so like I said, one of the things that I got to show this weekend, I'm gonna do this so maybe you can see right here in this picture. These Murex looms have a coil at the bottom, and that's the part that I'm a little sketch about. So I'm going to set this up, and then what you do is you move your warp bar, you start sliding it up, and see how these are now moving towards the bottom here. The part that gets a little scary is that because I'm moving these down, I'm going to want to try to pop them out of the coils. So here we go. So I've moved it further down, but as you can see right here, like I'm a little scared. So what I can do is I can righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I'm going to loosen up my warps a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to move my bar up. And once I hit those coils, I'm going to try to move around them. Worst case scenario, and actually I could probably do this because it doesn't really matter right now. Okay, so this bar, moving this bar, helps move my stuff, right? You can see it shifts around. So let's say I'm a little worried about my dog's barking. I'm a little worried about that coil, right? So I just unhooked it from here and slid it behind this one because this is the one that I'm concerned about. And then I can unhook it from this side, pop it out the back. So I'm just taking the coil off, okay? Because I have these on here, I mean, we'll see how this goes with this particular side, because obviously I've pinched all of my warp. But I could, in theory, move this all the way around to the back, and once I get back to the warp, slide that back underneath. So let's see how this goes. So I'm gonna very carefully move this out of the way. What is happening here? Something is stuck in my warps. Okay, well, we're gonna try to see if we can do this here. If I snap it, well, this is like stuck on something. Oh, I see. Okay, there we go. It's like we're starting our meditation. Let me ding the bell. Okay. So be careful when you do this. Oh yeah, Nebula's protecting me. She is doing a protect. Let me lefty loosey. Okay. Come on. And it's tough. Like, don't get me wrong. It wants to do its thing here. But I can take it and I could, in theory, very carefully. Oh, there we go. I could pull this all the way up here. There's some holes right here. That's just where the, whatchamacallit. Oh, there we go. Look at that. I've moved them around to the back side. Woot! It happens. Yay me. And I didn't totally wreck anything that I can tell yet. So if it's too tight, loosen up your wing nuts. Make it so that the warp is not as make it so I was turning the wrong way. Make it so that this is not as tight, and then you should have an easier time moving your warp bar up. So now my warp bar's up at the top. And then what I'll do is I can go ahead and tighten this up. But where did I put it? I'm gonna try this, and Lord help me here. I'm just getting all tangled up and everything. Okay, so I'm gonna try to reestablish these coils. Oh, stop. Did I literally do that? Oh, it was, I thought it was perfect. Oh, damn it. Okay, so I put my coil back in. I'll lift this up a little bit. And now what I need to do is I just need to make sure that my warps, so one of these I have 2 extra. So I need to find, there's these 2. I'll move them over. And you're like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to do this kind of stuff. Trust me, this is like way less fiddly than having to, like, I don't know, warp a floor loom. It's the one thing that scares me about floor looms. I'm like, are you sure? You sure I need to do this? Oh, look, I have 3 here. Okay, so we're going to move one over to here. And then we'll move one of these. I know I'll do this. Okay, they're still in the, so I'm gonna pull these up. Okay, that one, we're good. And then I need to go grab from the top part, because I still have a coil in the top, so it has my warp thread separated. And then you go to the top and you grab the 2 that are supposed to go together, and then you can very carefully move them apart when you've put the coil back in. So if you really need there to be separation in your warp, and you're not going to do what I did on that last one where you're cinching them all together, there you go. And now I have, the warp is all taken care of. Now I have to do this side because I just shoved it in there. So I'll grab that one and put that there. And keep in mind, I have not tightened up my wing nuts yet. They're still real loose. I mean, not so loosey-goosey that my warp threads are flopping around, but they're loose enough that I can manipulate my warp threads how I need them to be manipulated. And then these 2. So when in doubt, use the top coil as a guide. There you go. And now my warp threads are warped, and oh, yikes. Then what I can do is I can retighten. Now they're nice and tight, and I can go ahead and weave. So, and I know it looks, because this is back here, but trust me, they're separated now. So there we go. Okay. So I was going to show you more about texture. With texture, what I like to do is, number 1, best way to get texture is use different weights of yarn. So let's say, and I'm not even going to keep these in here, but you know, it's fine. Let's say I want to use some of this. This looks like it might be fun. I didn't coordinate very much in the way of stuff over here. So okay, so like let's say I have this lace weight, right? And this one actually was some stuff that, you know, when you're spinning and then you accidentally drop your spindle and it comes off and it's a huge mess, or let's say you've been spinning and you decide to make an Andean bracelet, and at some point the Andean bracelet gets tangled, and then you have to decide, you have to make a life choice. Your life choice is either going to be that you're going to spend a crazy amount of time to try to take apart that yarn and untangle it while simultaneously still plying it because it's attached to something else, and hope for the best, and maybe you might have to break your yarn in some places, or you're gonna say F it and you're gonna ply as much as you can, and when it stops you just break it and then you start a new piece, and then you realize that all of your pieces are only like this long. Oh, there you go, there's the story of my life. So I screwed up this yarn. It was very pretty yarn. it was some of Nicole's fiber that I was spinning, and I screwed it up because I make mistakes, and it got stuck in an Andean ply bracelet that was so tangled, and I spent hours and hours trying to untangle it and get it so I could ply it, but it wasn't happening. So at some point, I just started breaking it off into pieces and doing what I could. So let's say we're going to start in the middle here. And because these pieces are short and you can see like the twist on it, not particularly great because I goofed up and I made messes, and that's fine. Sometimes that happens, but like if you decide that you're gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna tighten this up a little bit more. If you decide that you're gonna weave, and you've screwed up your yarn and you dropped your spindle and it came off like a great big caterpillar and you're crying on the floor, and I don't know, maybe your significant other's looking at you like, what the did you do? And you're just crying hysterically because you've spent all this time working on this beautiful stuff and you've now done screwed it up. The choice is yours. You make that life choice. Do you pitch it? Do you save it and use it for something else? Do you try to salvage what you can of it? These are the choices we have as spinners. So this was, I tried to salvage what I could. And obviously, like I said, the twist is not fantastic, but it doesn't have to be for this. So let me show you. So this is something also too, in case you were wondering, that whole dropping the spindle and it coming off like a caterpillar and crying on the floor and your significant other looking at you saying, what the actual hell is, why are you crying? Like, this is dumb. And and you're like, but you don't understand? That literally is a true story. I remember Clay coming home and I was just a freaking heap on the floor because I had screwed up so bad. And I was just like, but this was so beautiful and I was so attached to it and it was going to be gorgeous. And I dropped my drop spindle, which, hey, hence the name. And it popped off the bottom into one great big caterpillar. And there was no saving it. Such is life. Okay, so here's my lace weight. I want to add texture. I had posted online that I had gone to my Girl Scout leader meeting. And what I had done in that leader meeting was I took something called a lucet fork. This is a lucet fork. This is a tiny lucet fork. I mean, if you want to look in the grand scheme of things, this is probably going to be one of the smaller ones that you've ever seen. I like to take this with me with my little lace weight. So here's my lace weight on a embroidery floss bobbin. And I take it with me and a crochet hook. And then what I do is I make lucet cord, which, for those who are not familiar with lucet cord, I had a longer one over here that I somehow put down and now I've misplaced. I probably dropped on the floor somewhere. But I had a lucet cord over here that was a little bit longer that I could show you. I was just pulling things out of my bag this weekend when I was doing my guild stuff. So, you know, I can't seem to keep a handle on any of the things that I have laying around here. Anyway, let me show you a short one then. Here's a short one. Basically what this does is you can use a lucet fork to make like a square, like think of it like a box chain. So what I could do is make I should make one right here for you. I'll do it with this one. This one might be easier to see. Oh wait, look at, I found it. I found some. Here's another one in that same, color. And then, I did have a longer one. I'm not sure where that went. I have two short ones here. I have another short one here. What was this? Oh, here's the longer one. as you can see, I do everything so tiny that sometimes I just lose stuff. So I'll do these short bits of like a square box lucite cord, and then I'll weave them in. So to make a lucite cord, and I'll do this again in another video too, like it's not anything that's super major. I'm gonna use some super overspun. This is merino camel yarn that I had left over from something. I think I made something for a friend of mine. I don't recall what that was. Okay, so lucite cord. I'm gonna hold it like this. I'm gonna wrap it around a couple times like this. Okay. The point of it is that you want to have like two wraps facing you. Okay, so I've got this one here and this one here. And then what you do is you take the bottom one and you pull it over the top one like that. And then you turn it over. And see, I have that extra little, I'll just drop that last one. Go like this. And when I'm starting, I'm like the queen of, hey, I'm gonna pull this off and then pull the entire thing off. I usually do that when I start. That's super fun. So you're gonna keep turning. You can also use your fingers for this, but because I'm using such a small lucite fork, I like to use the crochet hook because it's just easier to get in there than me, sticking my fat fingers in there. And I don't have nails to like pick at it either. So if you have nails, just use your fingers. You don't need a crochet hook. If you have a bigger hook or a bigger fork, then by all means, use the bigger fork, and you can pull these as tight as you want. Like the tension that you're getting on this is coming from you doing like this, right? And pulling down like this. And so see, there's the start of my little cord. Another thing you can do too, if you want to make some cords, these are fun to like weave into things, is you can use a I-cord maker. Let's do that. Anyway, so there you go. That's the start of a lucite cord. Okay, so we have that. Or like I said, you can use an I-cord maker. I have this, which is from my friend Colleen at Maker's Acres. Her goats chew on the wood and whittle it down, and it's got 3 hooks. You can make an I-cord with this. There's plenty of tutorials online, so I won't waste any time doing that right now. But then you can end up with, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. This is like the hand spun, very lumpy bumpy. Here's some more hand spun that's a little less lumpy bumpy. And then what you would do, depending on how much texture you want in your bracelet, or in whatever it is you're making. Let's see if I can find that long one again. I like to keep tails on mine because that helps with me weaving it in. And you want to make something that's going to take up enough space, right? So like the reason why I made these so tiny is because I figured I could take one of these and I could put it in like at least 3 times. So let's say that's my, I'll move this up a little bit. Because I didn't lock it in and I haven't done all that sumac and stuff that I would for like a tapestry, I can slide this up and down. I can do whatever I want with it, right? And honestly, like a lot of these, I like to start from the center and move out. So that's something to think about. But anyway, so I have this, and what I'll do is I will take this, and I'm using my fingers. You can use a needle on the end, obviously. That would probably actually be easier. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this piece through so it's like lined up here, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail. Actually, I am going to get a what are my little needles here? That's a tiny needle. It's like I have so many little bits of yarn here and like needles laying everywhere. I'll just take this one. Okay. So I can take this end, thread it on a needle, and then weave it back through like halfway just to kind of lock in that edge. Okay. And then it'll sit in the back, and then at the end, what I can do is I can go ahead and weave it back in like I'm gonna do with all these crazy things on this one. Also too, if you are out there and you're buying something from someone and it has a lot of colors in it, just know that's a lot of ends to weave in, and you should pay more for it, just so you know. That's the more colors, the more changes you make in texture, the more ends you have to weave in, you should, 100% be able to charge more for that, because there's a lot of work just in the weaving in of ends. It's really scary. Oh my goodness, I can't see. Okay. All right. So then what I'm doing is I'm taking and I'm going to weave through. It's very fuzzy then here. Pull it, push it, go around one more time. And it may not go all the way through. Like a lot of these, I tried to gauge whether I would be able to pass them through these or not. So this one, okay, it looks like it wants to go maybe that far, and that's fine. But now what you can see is that I've got a piece that has a lot more texture here. Here, let's do another one that would make it really crazy to see. Okay, so here's my lace weight right here. So let's say I decided that I want, where did that yellow stuff go? Because I'll just rip that apart. Do, 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 do. How is it like I literally just had it in my hand like 2 minutes ago and I put it down and now I don't know where stuff is? Okay, well, so much for that. All right. Okay, so here's my black stuff, right? And let me take it apart. There we go. Oh, here it is. Whoops, never mind. I found it. Okay. I'm probably going to take this out anyway, so like don't. Yeah, ends equal yuck. Ends equal a massive migraine. There's so much to do, and so like especially like for these, I know for me personally, one of the things I worry about is like, oh, how much should I charge for some of these one of a kind pieces? And then I'm like, how many different colors did I use and how many ends did I have to weave in? Which, hey, it's valid. So just so you know, if the more colors, the more you should probably pay for it. Just saying. Okay. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to do this. Actually, I'm going to do this. Because I'm going to take it out anyway. So bear with me here. Hopefully this will be something that you can see a little bit better. So the thicker the yarn, and depending on whether you're doing lucid cord, I think, like I said, depending on the type of yarn that you're doing, you can make thinner, which is why I do use it a lot, because I'm not trying to get like massive texture like this. But you can oh man, like I'm just making this stuff angry. Okay, we're gonna go over that. think I must have goofed something up here. Oh, I did. Look at that. Okay. So there's that piece. Then we're going to go under, over. And you can also do this too, where you lift up your threads to try to pass it through, depending on how thick it is. This is pretty thick. So, and the other thing to be conscientious of is that, okay, let's say you want to use these thick bits that are super thick, right? Like this particular one that I'm mucking about with right now. Be aware that your warp thread, so like this is white on almost white, so you really can't tell that much, but your warp threads are going to show. So you'll see these threads for as thick as this yarn is. Okay, so this one also too is like I do have a tendency to make a bunch of cords out of yarn that maybe I didn't quite set yet, which is real fun. I do that a lot. So sometimes I have some curly cues and some overspins and stuff like that, and it makes for interesting texture, some of that stuff. But like I used very, very small, tiny, and I'm putting really, really big next to it. So just be aware, you're going to get a different effect. So that's what that looks like. So you can see, like, when I'm putting together something, I'm making sure that my threads, and normally I probably would even think to put a different color here next to it. So like, let's say I did some black lace weight, right? And then do like this thicker bit next to it. Or even better, do this. You can go over two, over two, under two, over two, under two, over two. Oh my gosh, I can't put my face close enough to my stuff. You know what, let me do this. It's like, oh my gosh, Stacey, what are you doing? If you're finding that it's super duper tight, like I am with this, because it's so much thicker than the stuff that's right next to it, you can go under two, then we'll go over two, under two, and that way you're playing with less of the warp threads. Oh, I'm stuck. Like this. And then you can do that. And that'll give you a different effect too. Or, for example, let's say you're like, oh, well, everything's just plain weave, plain weave, plain weave. What else can I do that's different? And I would say you could do so much that's different. Okay, so let's say you did different types of warping or weaving, sorry. And I'm going to go over, under, over, up here, under, over, under, like this. And I'm going to do this all like under, over. And then what I'm creating then is a different series of passes, right? So if you see that next to one of these, then you know you have the different texture. You can also, what's another one that would be good? Do something where, let's say, I'm just messing about at this point. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go like this. Do it kind of like a sumac, but then like leave you can use a pencil for this if you want to not eyeball your loops. gonna be like, what the heck? I don't get it. Okay. Um, oh, my doggy sounds like a little piggy. So let's say you make a series of loops, and then in between, you do a couple weaves, passes, do a couple passes, and then I mean, the it's endless. You could do whatever. There you go. And then so you do some more loopy doos, and then you do a couple more passes of just plain weave, and then you can make like these little bits too. It's a lot like tapestry. So really, I mean, think about it. Anything that you do in tapestry, you can do in this. You can make fringe. You could do fringe, you could do this kind of thing. This one, when you're using a continuous yarn, is probably a little bit better. For fringe, if you're cutting it, you need to be careful that you're really packing your weaving together, so that those little bits of fringe don't come apart when you're wearing it, because obviously you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna do this as like a piece of jewelry or something. Like I would do fringe and more tapestry stuff in something like a pendant or earrings or something to that effect. For a bracelet, I think I would probably do these loops, but even still, I might do loops that are just teeny tiny, probably smaller than this, just in case they get caught on something. So like you won't see this a lot in the bracelets I make, but you could very well do it. You just want to be very careful because like if you're wearing other jewelry or things like that, or if you're able to snag yourself on something, you don't want to do that, and then pull on your bracelet and then have it all go to hell. So but those are just a couple different ways that you can add texture to things. So I'm gonna actually take this all out, and why did it? I don't know why it thinks I'm doing thumbs down, thumbs up. Yeah, no, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, so you can go ahead and do whatever you want, but having experience in tapestry weaving is definitely helpful. But you can just do a plain one too. And sometimes you have yarn that's so pretty that it looks good just by itself. And maybe you don't need any beads or anything else with it. You just want a plain weave because the yarn is so gorgeous. Like, then by all means do that too. Or maybe you have something that changes color throughout or what have you. It's really up to you and what you would want to do. So that's just a couple suggestions. And I've already been on for an hour. So I'm going to go rest my voice and spend some time in my garden. And hopefully you guys will be inspired to maybe try something different. So that's it.